Let's dive into one of the most intriguing questions about human brain. What happens to the brain after death? Now, the brain is a marvelous organ controlling everything from thoughts and emotions to movements and memories. But what occurs in this complex system when life ceases? Well, it turns out the journey of the brain after death is just as fascinating as its life functions. First off, within a few seconds of death, the brain's activity starts to decline. Without oxygen, it can no longer produce the energy it needs to function. In about 4 to 6 minutes, the cells begin to die. It's a rapid process, but crucially, during this window, some people report near-death experiences. This phenomenon opens up a whole other realm of scientific and philosophical questions, but let's stick to the biology for now. As the minutes turn to hours, the brain undergoes a process known as autolysis. This is where enzymes within the cells start breaking down the tissue. It's like the brain is digesting itself. Kinda gross, but totally natural. Next comes the involvement of bacteria. Our bodies are full of them, and after death, they begin to multiply. These tiny organisms start breaking down the tissues, including the brain. This decomposition process is what ultimately transforms the body back to its basic elements. Now, you might be wondering, what about those stories of brains being preserved for decades? Well, in controlled conditions such as freezing or chemical preservation, the brain can be kept intact for a long time. But let's not get too sci-fi. What about the idea of consciousness after death? This is where things get really interesting. Some studies suggest there might be a brief period where the brain is still aware after clinical death, but this is a heavily debated topic. But what about the intriguing claim that the brain remains active for 7 minutes post-mortem? Is there any truth to this? Interestingly, recent studies suggest that the brain might indeed continue to function for a short period after the heart stops beating. In fact, some researchers have observed brain activity up to 7 minutes after clinical death. What does this mean? During this time, the brain enters a unique state. It's as if it's making a final stand, a last burst of activity. This has been observed in a small study involving individuals who had near-death experiences. These were people who were in a coma or had come dangerously close to death, but ultimately survived. In these moments, some report seeing vivid, lifelike visions or having profound experiences. Could this be the brain's final attempt to process and make sense of the world? Or perhaps a last-ditch effort to survive? The science is still out, but the implications are fascinating. This brief period of post-mortem brain activity raises numerous questions. Is it possible that in those final minutes, the brain is replaying memories or generating complex thoughts? Could this be the scientific basis for the vivid experiences reported by those who have come back from the brink of death? What happens to memory after death? Memory is one of the most complex and least understood functions of the brain. It's where we store our experiences, emotions, and knowledge. But what becomes of these memories once the brain ceases to function? Interestingly, some researchers believe that the intense brain activity observed in the minutes following death might involve a replay of significant life events. Think of it as a final highlight reel, where the brain scrambles to make sense of its existence. This could explain the vivid life reviews reported by individuals who have had near-death experiences. But is there more to it? Some theories suggest that memories might not just be electrical patterns in our brain, but could also be stored in a more metaphysical sense, perhaps in what some call the collective unconscious, or even in the fabric of the universe itself. While this remains speculative, it's a tantalizing idea that adds another layer to our understanding of memory and consciousness. As the brain shuts down, it's likely that the physical structures supporting memory begin to degrade. Neurons lose their ability to communicate, and synaptic connections weaken. However, the exact moment when memories are irretrievably lost is still a mystery. Could it be that in those final moments, our most cherished memories are replayed one last time? Or do they dissolve quietly, like whispers in the wind? The science may not have all the answers yet, but the questions themselves are profoundly moving. As we continue our journey into the enigmatic realms of the brain, a fascinating question arises. Can the brain survive without a body? To understand this, we need to first acknowledge the brain's dependency on the body for essential functions like oxygen supply, nutrient delivery, and waste removal. Without these vital services, brain cells quickly begin to die. However, advances in medical science have led to intriguing developments. For instance, scientists have successfully kept pig brains alive outside of their bodies for several hours, using a specialized system that mimics blood flow. This groundbreaking experiment demonstrated that it is possible, under controlled conditions, to maintain brain cell function without the body. But this is just the beginning. The concept of a brain surviving independently raises numerous ethical and philosophical questions. What would it mean for consciousness and identity? Could a disembodied brain still think, feel, or even dream? And if so, what kind of existence would that be? Some futurists envision a time when human consciousness can be uploaded into a digital medium, effectively allowing the brain to live without a biological body. This idea, often referred to as mind uploading or digital immortality, remains speculative, but is a tantalizing prospect. Moreover, the brain's intricate connection to the body goes beyond mere survival. Our sensory experiences, emotions, and even our sense of self are deeply intertwined with our physical form. The body provides the context for our interactions with the world, shaping our perceptions and memories. Could a brain detached from its body truly retain its humanity, or would it become something entirely different? While the science of brain preservation and potential mind uploading is still in its infancy, these questions push the boundaries of our understanding and challenge us to rethink what it means to be alive. They invite us to explore the limits of technology, the nature of consciousness, and the essence of human experience.